To tonight's show. Oh, my Lord, what an ordeal getting online tonight. My goodness, but we're here. That's all that matters. We have a big show this evening, a really, really big show. It's a show that's so big you can't even imagine how big this show is. First, I got to just put this on here. We used to back in the day. I see my friend Kevin 45. He's doing the Guar Pod right now. Go check that out. We're running in tandem here. That's an accident. I never want to go live at the same time as my friends are because I want to support everybody, right? That's the plan. That's the plan, Stan. I hope you're ready. I hope strap in for tonight's discussion. My goodness, there's a lot to say. I'm just doing my thing here to make sure this is all copacetic. Okay. We're good. We're live. We're here. Welcome to the show. That's what's most important. I've listened to Anti-Hero, Jerry Only's brand new solo album. Link in the description if you want to buy it. Go support Jerry. Go buy Anti-Hero. We're going to discuss it. We're going to get down into the nitty-gritty about it. And yeah, I did a lot of work. A lot of prep for this episode. Okay. What's up, Biz? How was my Halloween? It was phenomenal. We had a great Halloween. I got to say, I finished up those 31 days of Halloween reviews, and it was was starting to get a little bit of a slog, doing the reviews every day. I was getting a little burnt out. That's right. For the kids. Yeah, baby. For the kids. Tonight's episode is for the kids. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. No, tonight is an Uncle Jerry's episode. We had that whole series, Jerry's Kids, which is just Jerry, following Jerry's career post Misfits 95. So we got somebody, what your name is? S23GFD was at the Misfit show in Dallas. It was amazing. Also, One Cell from You is my favorite. Okay, look, chill with the comments. We gotta go through everything. We gotta go through a whole rigmarole. Okay, I'm gonna do this proper because we want to do it once. We don't want to have part 2 and 3 and 4. However, there might be a part 2 for a different reason, but it's not to review per se. And I think the best way to start the show is to do it the way that we always start a Misfits streaming Evilive show, which is this way. This one, it goes out to Rue Morg, who may or may not be listening. But if he does listen, this is for you. Hold on. I got to get my thing ready.
Jeff is gonna talk about the Misfits right now. He's a nerd about this stuff, obsessed anyhow. Jeff never shuts his face, always needs to talk. Might show some weight if he went out for a walk. Do you think Danzig cares? He doesn't care. He's not into ranch.
Doodle-oo. Yes, for the kids. Jake Bailey got it off of Apple Music. Oh man, we got the Yeet is here, but Yeet's real name, Yeet's secret Yeet's secret identity is actually Rob Johnson. What's up, Yeet? Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Davey Havoc is here. What's up, Davey? What? Oh crap. Not this guy. Oh no. This poser, there's a poser, Jeff Frumess, in the comments. By the way, everybody, just so we all know, this is not me. Whoever this guy is, Jeff Frumess, this is not me. I'm Jeff Frumess. How could I be posting while Jeff Frumess is in the comments? Got it? So that's not me. That is some obsessive stalker or whoever. And this is the most attention they are going to get from me. And goodbye. That's it. That's it. No more attention. Don't feed the trolls. Don't feed the trolls. This is Evie or Evie. Okay, it's not Davey Havoc. Michael Graves sucks. Listen, I don't ever like to use the S word, the sucks word, because, or at least towards art, but towards people that can apply. And I do agree, Michael Graves does suck. Fine. That's the one time I'm going to let it slide. Okay. That's the one time. I guess we could start the show now officially, properly. So I thought it was from it. No, that is not me. That is some guy. That is just some guy who posts on other. No, it's not Fumes. It's Frumess. Frumess is how you pronounce the name. And that's just some guy who went to took the time and effort to make a screen name, Jeff Frumess, a YouTube handle, and then goes and posts like racist, like all sorts of nasty things. And it's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But there's only one. I have two accounts, okay? There's one where I'm doing the static age thing on my face, and then there's this one with the moon face, with my face in it. Those are the only two accounts, Frumess and Jeff Frumess. This other jabron, I don't know who they are, but yes, that is a fake account. Trevor says, you've made it when you have an obsessive stalker. I don't know if I made it, but I definitely do have an obsessive stalker. That is for sure. That is weird. That is a weird situation. Okay. Should we start? Should we really start? Should we dive in? We got 26 people watching. Should we dive in? At least 26 people across platforms. I don't know. All right. I'm going to start. But here's the thing. Unless I see a comment that relates to what I'm talking about, or really highlights something, I am going to, we're going to go back to the comments, because you know me, my ADHD brain, I'll just go off on a tangent about something for hours, and we'll be here for 4 hours tonight. We can't be here for 4 hours tonight. There's a lot of things to do in the morning. So, I mean, I'm already just wasting time by doing this, right? I mean, really, truly. But I'm just going, once I dive in, I'm going to go. Ready? Let's begin. We're talking about Jerry Only's brand new solo album called Anti-Hero. I have listened to it at least 4 or 5 times now, I want to say, given it 4 or 5 listens in the last 2 days. I also I went back and I listened to Project 1950. I listened to The Day the Earth Caught Fire. I listened to the single Land of the Dead. I listened to The Devil's Rain. I listened to, what was the next one? Vampire Girl, I think it is. There's Vampire Girl. I listened to, Descending Angel. That there was a single of that. I listened to the Christmas record. I don't remember what that's called, but the Christmas record. And I listened to the Friday the 13th EP. So I've listened to all of Jerry Only's output since Misfits 95. And the reason why I did that very specifically is because I really needed it in order to add context to what I was listening to with Anti-Hero. And what's interesting is, so a lot of interesting observations here, some of which you might find, at least, and mind you, these are my observations, and some of them you might find to be shocking. And by the way, Steven is here. Steven, is this the same guy that emailed me? Hold on one second. Let me make sure it is. Yeah, Steven, thank you for taking the time to send me the liner notes. I could not see any of the responses. I was looking for the liner notes. And the reason why is because I wanted to make sure that we highlighted all the personnel that was involved with making this record. And Stephen went to the trouble to email me that. So I just wanted to give him a quick shout out and say thank you for doing so. Much appreciated. We're going to start. Okay. So in order to talk about Antihero, we have to, how did we get to Antihero, right? How did we get there? We got to go back a little bit. We're going to go back. We're not going to go back to 1983. And okay. See, I'm already getting ahead of myself. A couple of things to note when you're hearing this interview from me personally. One, I am not a musician. I say that often on the channel. I want to reiterate, I am not a musician. Sometimes, what's up, Chris? Sometimes I find myself lacking the musical language to communicate the concepts that I'm thinking, and or might need a correction here or there. I'm not a musician. Number two, these are my opinions personally. I'm just speaking from my experience in listening and hearing and whatever, that sort of thing. Number three, I am paraphrasing the history that we're about to repeat, and I may be off a little bit. It's just the way it is. I do all this stuff off the top, the dome, although I did write notes today. I did write notes like prompts and stuff, so I could, try and stay focused and stay on track. Here's what I want us all. Oh, and the last thing I wanted to say was we are about to get super fucking nerdy right now. Okay. We are going to get nerdy. I see your comments, Davey, and I appreciate them. I'm ignoring the comments so I can stay on track. We're about to get really nerdy, people. We're going to get into semantics. We're going to measure ass crack hairs. We are getting down to the minutia of the minutia, because that's what we do best here on this channel. Okay. And one of the concepts, I don't know if this is a concept, but one of the things that I like to, how do I put this best? One of the things that I like to put out there on the channel when we talk about pop culture here. We talk about music, we talk about movies, we talk about all sorts of stuff. We talk about art that people create. And I'm not interested. It's not my personal interest to tear down anybody's art. I don't mind talking about why it's lacking or why it might have shortcomings, but we are going to approach it from a critical standpoint. We are not going to sit here and say something sucks. I hate that word, sucks, especially when it relates to art. You know what I say to that? I say, fuck you. You go out there and you friggin' go and make something. You make something that people are buying and selling, okay? It's not an easy thing to do. Does that mean that it's infallible? Does that mean that it's beyond criticism? Absolutely not. Of course not. Everything is allowed to be criticized or critiqued, but have some damn reason behind what you are saying. I saw some of you guys out there, I don't know if anybody's watching who was posting it. I saw articles passing around, like really just sort of, oh my God, just like lame articles about like, this sucks. And I'm like, dude, I'm not even like, what is the point of even reading it? Like, I'm instantaneously turned off when I hear that word. I don't respect your criticism or critique if you can't. Here's the thing. If something is really good, you have to explain why it's really good, right? You have to give supporting reasons. Shouldn't you do the same if you think something is not that great, if something is lacking, or if something is a mixed bag? I think that it goes both ways. It applies in both avenues. And that's what people forget about criticism. Criticism involves, solid, tangible, logical reasons. And sometimes it's not logical. Sometimes it's just personal preference. I like blue instead of red. I like chocolate ice cream instead of vanilla ice cream. Why? Because that's what my taste buds prefer. But there has to be a reason. It can't just suck. Oh, do I hate that? So with all that said now, let's go back and figure out how we got here in the first place. Why is Jerry only now at the age of 60 something releasing a solo record when, you know, in reality, I mean, he's kind of been doing a somewhat of a solo thing for a while now, a little bit. So Glenn and Jerry have a lawsuit over the Misfits name. Jerry wins the right to use the Misfits moniker. They become the Misfits 95 or the Resurrected Misfits, whatever. There's a huge contingent of fans. I mean, this is like the number one divisive thing, right? That who prefers, the only Misfits is the original Misfits. No, it's a continuation, blah, 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 that whole tired bullshit of an argument. Where do I personally lie? Of course, I think that the Misfits were a band. Here's the thing, and I was talking about this with someone over the phone earlier. What makes a band is like the heart and soul, the nucleus, the creative nucleus. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself because I'm not looking at my notes. You have a nucleus, and when that nucleus dissipates, that band can no longer be that band. Even if someone tries to continue on with that band is not going to be the same. And if you use the name of that band, you are going to be scrutinized. You're probably going to be compared anyway to that band because of your association with that band, whether you use the name or not. But if you use that name further, you're only going to create more of that. And that's exactly what happened when Jerry decided to use the Misfits name instead of using a new name, starting off with a new name, which he would have done if he had not gotten the rights. Why do I bring this up? Because it's a sort of it seems to be, as I have followed Jerry Only's career for, decades at this point now, and, watched him, put out this or do that or yada, yada, yada. And this seems to be a reoccurring theme with everything that he kind of does, in the sense that, like, he's still using the Misfits name, even though it's not the Misfits anymore. And finally, after all these years, he has done what I've wanted him to do, what so many fans, and I'm saying this as a fan, I am a fan of Jerry Only. I'm saying, Jerry, I want to see you do a Jerry Only record. I don't want to see you do something that's the Misfits without Glenn, because to me, it's not the Misfits. And finally, after all this time, he does it. But is this the first Jerry Only solo record? I don't think so. I think that this is just simply, I think if Jerry had his druthers, he probably would put this out under the Misfits the way he did with all those other EPs. He would have done that. That's what he probably would have done. I would imagine. And for whatever legal reasons, what's up, Jody Ramone? How are you? For whatever legal reasons, he can't, or, he doesn't. Look, you're getting paid over $1 million a gig. Like, you don't want to rock that boat. Nor should he. And good that he's getting paid. Good that everybody's getting paid, right? It's also interesting that Jerry has stopped doing interviews. Jerry, it was the mouthpiece for forever. Post 83, Jerry really was the sole mouthpiece. And that dude, could talk more than I can talk. And I'd be terrified to interview Jerry and ask him questions, because I just feel like I would only fire off like 3 questions, and there would be like 90 minutes. But he stopped doing those interviews completely. Not even doing press for his solo record, which leads me to believe that something must have happened. And again, that is complete conjecture. That's just me thinking, like, why on earth would he just suddenly stop? And I can only imagine that he is contractually, there's something between him and Glenn, or him, Glenn, and Doyle, where he is not to talk to the press in some sort of way. I can beat him. You think I could? I think maybe I could. It would be like a Rocky match of verbal jousting, me and Jerry and I. I met Jerry once, and he was super nice and awesome, and we took a picture together. It was fucking great. I just want to say that after the second Misfits Riot Fest show, I met him right after he played that set, and it was cool. It was cool. All right, I'm getting distracted. Okay, so look, so Jerry, so the Misfits 95 do their thing, and that, the Misfits 95, I wouldn't sit there and semantically split hairs and go, is this Jerry only solo? Of course not. This is a band. This is a fully functioning band that has multiple creative inputs. Even if Jerry is calling the shots, even if Jerry is steering the ship, you have multiple creative inputs coming into that band. You have people from out, you have Rocky on some level in the background. You have John Cafiero, and really Tank could speak better to this than me. Maybe I'm wrong here. I'll have to ask him when we're doing Grim Tales 3 later in this month for anybody who likes the Jonathan Grimm series. But you have John Cafiero, who's like the manager and stuff, and he's like directing music videos. He's probably got some sort of input in some way, shape, or form. You got everybody in the band. And then who's the third person? I said there was going to be one more. It was Rocky. It was John Cafiero. I don't know. But the person who's steering that ship is Jerry. Jerry's like, let's go do wrestling. They're all doing wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Like Jerry sort of just steering that ship. And then the band implodes for a variety of reasons that I am so not able to go into right now. It's just too much to discuss, too much of a sidebar that will distract us. We're already 21 minutes into this thing. We haven't even gotten to the review. My God. But we have to do this part. This is the best. This is the fun part. We did this with Doyle, right? That implodes. And Jerry, from that moment on, even though Jerry is using the name The Misfits, it really is, they really do become the Jerry Fits. The best moniker is Jerry Fits. That's the way I think of it. Yes, they are still a band, but they're not. I mean, they record a little bit, but it really just becomes, the band is just a means for Jerry to just keep doing what he's doing. Because, and I hope this word, I'm not saying this in a negative way. I'm saying this is just calling a spade, in that Jerry's a stubborn guy. Like, he's driven. He works incredibly hard. He puts 150% into whatever he is doing. But from studying his career, it's like when he makes his mind up about something, it's very hard to dissuade it. It seems, from an outside perspective, reading all that I read and hearing all that I hear and speaking to people that I've spoken to, I may not personally know Jerry, but I've spoken to a lot of people that have interacted with him, and that's the vibe that I get. Okay, so that's where I'm speaking from, not that I actually know. And that the band essentially functions as sort of a sidecar for Jerry. That's what they become. And Jerry does something. He takes over vocal duties permanently. Now, in the past, we've read interviews with Jerry where he vents his frustration of dealing with lead singers. Jerry and Michael Graves clashed greatly. It started in the mid 90s. It got really bad when Michael Graves, this is contested. Michael Graves was like, "Hey, I'm going to go do sports camp. I'm going to go do hockey camp." And they were like, "We have a tour book," that whole thing. And they got Mike Hideous instead, who we've had. He's been on the channel and he told his whole story, that sort of thing. But Jerry has always struggled with lead singers, really. And I mean, even him and Glenn must have clashed heads at the end of the Misfits on some level, at least at the very, very end, because they broke up, right? And we know the story. We know some of that story already. We've talked about it. We've heard Jerry talk about it. We've heard Jerry do his tell-all thing in 93, right? So So there's that part. There's that part too. So Jerry's struggling and he's dealing with trying to keep the band together, with trying to keep lead singers, functioning. He got that guy Zoli from Ignite. He tried to get him to sing. They tried to make, they brought Mike Hideous in for a while. They had Graves. And eventually Jerry got to a place where he's like, fuck it, I'm going to sing. And I don't think it was, a lot of people like to burn Jerry and say, oh, you singing because, it's an ego thing. And maybe it became that way a little bit later. Maybe, maybe he, really wanted to be a singer later on. But I get the feeling, like I said, it's just a hunch. It's not, I don't know this for certain, but I get the feeling that it blossomed out of a necessity initially. Jerry started singing because he's like, this is easier to deal with than dealing with a lead singer who might be a diva or whatever the case may be, or dealing with Graves. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, this is better. I don't have, that's one less person to pay, right? That's one less, voice. That's one less passport I have to deal with. Like, so many reasons why it made sense for Jerry where he was at that time, wanting to continue on as the Misfits or continue on in music using the Misfits moniker. It's better that I just sing. That's it. That makes things easier. He has Dez in the band, but Dez is just doing Black Flag songs when they do a short micro Black Flag set, which I saw. It was great. I had fun, for what it was. But at this point, I really feel like Jerry only became a solo entity. That's what happened. And the first real true, after going back and listening back, the first real solo effort, even though he was, still operating within the band, it's kind of like Black Sabbath, right? Like Tony Iommi eventually was the final member of Black Sabbath, and he wanted to release a record as just Tony Iommi in the mid 80s. And they made him do like Tony Iommi featuring Black Sabbath or something because they wanted the name. Because why? Why use the name? Why use the name if if the nucleus is no longer there? There's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of really important business reasons. There's branding reasons. I mean, Jerry did a lot for the Misfits for as much brand confusion as what eventually developed by having, a different band singing different albums from the original 77 to 83 Misfits. Jerry also brought value to the band in the 90s. He introduced the Misfits to a whole new generation of kids and those songs. You know what I'm saying? I just want to highlight James Gruesome, who has supported us. Thank you for your support to the channel, James. James is an awesome dude who I very much want to have here. We're supposed to come on and do May with us. We'll have him on eventually. He will be on here on the show. So thank you, James. I tip my hat to you and appreciate you, sir. God damn it, I lost my place. We were talking about, he introduced the Misfits to a whole new generation. Yes, Danzig did the same in the 90s to an extent, yes, Metallica, is obviously very responsible for this, to bring the Misfits to a more mainstream audience, if you can call it that. That's a weird thing to say, bringing the Misfits to a mainstream audience. I don't know if that sentence quite works, but he was elevating in that kind of way. Even if he's creating brand confusion, these kids are not sure. They're like, wait, why does this sound like this? No one understands. Oh, there's two different eras. There's two different bands. There's two, so it's like a sort of like a mixture of stuff. But Jerry's first solo effort, really, I think, is The Day the Earth Caught Fire. That's when when Jerry takes over, that's when Jerry is really doing Jerry's thing. And I think it came from stubbornness. Jerry wanted to continue, soldier on, make music, and do his thing. And he didn't give a shit what anybody thought. He really didn't. Because I got to tell you, Jerry took a lot of shit from the internet in the aughts, especially in the message forums. Some of you were there and witnessed what I'm talking about, probably even contributed to it as well, where Jerry only was just, he was villainized. He was completely and utterly villainized, where people were just like, how dare he use the Misfits name, the Misfits, you know. And here's the truth. Here's where I stand on all this. Here's where I stand on all this. The Misfits to me is always Jerry and Glenn. Glenn and Jerry, Jerry and Glenn. That is the nucleus. They were there at the beginning. They were there for every single lineup. They are the cohesive element that makes the Misfits, in my opinion. You can't have one without the other and call it the Misfits. You need Jerry for it to be the Misfits, and you need Glenn for it to be the Misfits. And we saw that so well, so clearly, A, when Jerry was doing his thing, and B, even with Danzig and Doyle. We all, our faces melted. We said, this is the closest thing that we are ever going to get to a Misfits reunion. How awesome is this? And we loved it. I loved it. You know what was great about the Danzig and Doyle shows? You got to have a Misfits set within a Danzig set. It was 2 for the price of 1. It was great, man. It was great. It was good times. But it wasn't the Misfits. It wasn't. And that became so blatantly, painfully clear to me when I finally saw the original Misfits in 2016 at Riot Fest Chicago. That was when I was like, oh, this is what I was missing. Because I didn't, you know, what Jerry adds to that stage when the three of them are together, it's magical. It's friggin' magical. And it's something that no matter how much Glenn will deny it, Glenn needed Jerry. Jerry needed Glenn, but Glenn needed Jerry too. And that's why the two of them are the Misfits. Yeah, throw Doyle in there, obviously, too, but it's Glenn and Jerry, man. It's Glenn and Jerry. So now we've cleared that up now, right? We're putting that to bed. That is what makes the Misfits the Misfits. So that informs everything that I'm going to say now and have said up until this point, talking about Jerry doing the band without Glenn, that sort of thing. You know what I'm saying? So Jerry, you know, continues on and he puts out just a ton of EPs. Some of them, you know, and he finally puts out a feature length. I remember from 2000 to 2011, which now feels like it was 3 decades between a release, when in reality, it's like, I mean, it's like a blink of an eye now, but like at the time it was like, you know, we were all like, when is Jerry going to put out some original material? And that was the big hate on Jerry, was he doesn't put anything out. He doesn't put anything out that's original. Meanwhile, if you actually look at Jerry's release, let's see here, Day the Earth Caught Fire, Project 1950, even though it's a covers record. He did that single. He did the Devil's Rain album. He did the Vampire Girl. He did the another cover and an old song. I don't know, but it's a release. 5, 6, 7, 8. He's put out 8 releases, 9 if you include Antihero. Now I know Graves has put out a lot of stuff since that band broke up, and Doyle he's put out 2 albums, and the Gorgeous Frankenstein. He put out 3 things in 22 years. He put out 3 things in 22 years. Chud put out 1 LP. Chud put out 1 LP and 1 7-inch in almost 20 years. So Jerry's actually released quite a bit of content, good or bad. He's put out a bunch of stuff. But at the time, we were all like, what? Why is this taking so long? Jerry, God damn it, he's using the Misfits name. It's not cool. It's not cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody was just so irate and just and Jerry didn't give a shit. He did not care. He might have cared, but he didn't let, he did not let, he just soldiered on. He soldiered on. He's like, this is what I want to do. And that's what I mean by the stubbornness. But I don't think it was just stubbornness. I also think, and again, these are just my thoughts. These are just like, this is just my own personal thoughts. I also think that Jerry soldiered on despite whatever backlash that he was getting, because the other thing about Jerry Only is that Jerry Only is so good to his fans. And we've talked about this. We hear endless stories of Jerry's generosity and kindness and how he's so giving of himself and his time. I literally I met him right after he finished putting on a 90-minute set at Riot Fest, probably one of the most stressful shows he's ever put on, right? Because it's like the reunion and whatnot. And, he could have brushed me off. He could have been like, dude, leave me the fuck alone. I'm gassed and whatever. And he was so fucking nice and so accommodating and talkative and just, it was amazing. It was an amazing thing to see in that kind of way. Jerry's always been very giving. So I feel like Jerry's been in his own microcosm. My audiences love me. I love my audiences. Who cares what this stupid internet thinks? I'm just going to go about my business. And then he does eventually release an album. He does release an album, The Devil's Rain. The Devil's Rain album comes out. 50 minutes of music, by the way. I've listened to The Devil's Rain twice now, okay? I've listened to Doyle's records. I've listened to each one time. That's it. I listened to Abominator one time, and I listened to the second one time. Although I think one track is in my Spotify playlist, which always pops up, and I always skip it because I'm sorry, Doyle, cousin Doyle, just doesn't work for me. Didn't work for me. And so Jerry is always, and then the other thing too that's interesting about, bringing us up to this point of anti-hero to catch us up. A big observation, Jerry releases 50 minutes of music on The Devil's Rain, right? And I don't know how well it does or if it sells really well. At this point, Jerry's had a lot of bad luck with record labels. He had bad experiences with Geffen. He had bad experiences with Roadrunner. And before that, I believe he had dealings with Atlantic, going back to the Christ the Conqueror stuff. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. And so he's finally like, I'm just going to do my own. I'll do my own record label. That's what I'm going to do. And him and Cafiero, they formed Misfits Records. And so they put out Devil's Rain. I don't know how well it did, but they had to have made, I'd imagine they did better than they would have if they were on a major label, right? That's what I mean to say. They would have done better than if they were on a major label because, there's less, I don't know, probably less middlemen to deal with, taking slices of the pie, that sort of thing. And then right after they released 50 minutes of music, 16 tracks, they just start putting out a slew of singles. There's no follow-up. He started to realize it's better to release my music in small little increments and small little chunks than it is to give away a whole album. And he started putting out these releases. And I got to tell you, those releases, from what I understand, those releases all sold incredibly well over the last, how many years. He understood the value of packaging, and he understood what his fan market wanted, which was collectible, multicolored vinyl, which is something that connected to the old Misfits. Jerry tapped into that. And I think that it has served him really well. And what's funny is I think even Glenn caught on to that because Glenn started to do that a little bit as well. And he did it a lot with the Danzig Sings Elvis album. And I wonder if he sort of got wind of that from watching maybe what Jerry was doing. Even though, I mean, Glenn was doing that all the way back to the Misfits days, but it's like, I feel like for years, Glenn didn't do variants. And not until he was with Cleopatra did that really start. Maybe that was a Cleopatra decision. I don't know. Because if you look at Glenn's track record after the Misfits and Sam Hain, he really didn't, there really wasn't much thought into like, hey, let's have all these, limited pressings and blah, blah, blah. By that point, they were on a major label. So it was like, or they were on a, Deaf American. Probably didn't think about that stuff anymore without Plan 9. So, and then that brings us back, that circles us back to now. Right after 2016, Jerry mentioned that he mentioned two things. One, that he was lifting. I remember this in interviews. I'm lifting weights and I'm writing songs. That's what he said. Now, did he have these songs written all the way back to Devil's Reign? I don't know. He definitely continued to write after the Devil's Reign, or, really tried to get, writing anything. I don't know if it's songwriting is the same, but I know that, writing, like screenwriting or writing in general, it's like a muscle. It's like you have to work out. You can't just expect. It's like something that you have to like practice and do. I mean, yes, there's like a creative aspect of like, oh, it just comes to you and you just do it. But, sometimes it doesn't come so easy, and you got to like work your brain to try and get the creative juices flowing and put something out there and whatnot. And so Jerry had a bunch of material that he either wrote in 2016 pre-2016 or post-2016. Did Jerry take this material to Glenn and was like, hey, let's do a Misfits record? I have no idea. I'm sure that if he did, and Glenn was probably just like, fuck no, we are not doing that. Who knows? I do remember there being something about like, we're going to write a record, something like that. And Jerry said the word we, which was weird because previously Glenn always brought the songs. Even if Jerry and Doyle were helping with the arranging, Glenn brought the songs, right? Chorus and a verse, brought it to the clubhouse, the pool house, flesh it out. So Jerry's quiet. So Jerry becomes very quiet post 2016 because he's making $1 million. I don't know what his guarantees were in the aughts or the 2010s, but I have to imagine that he had to have been making I don't know, double, triple, quadruple the amount of money that from one show compared to going out on the road for 3 months or 2 months at a time. I mean, Jerry did a lot of touring as the Jerry Fits. Those guys would go out and they would play show after show. They went all over the world playing shows, right? They worked hard. One thing you got to say about Jerry is that dude goes hard in anything that he does. He pours himself into it. And now here he is playing one show and making more money in that one show than he probably made for all of the year 2014, something like that. And so he's got these songs and he obviously cannot put them out as the Misfits anymore, which is funny too, because that last EP, the Friday, we're going to get to the review right now. We built up to it. That Friday the 13th EP came out after they had announced that the original Misfits were coming back. And that Jerry was like, we got to get this out. We got to get this out before, because the gate was probably coming down. And they wanted to get it out. They got that thing. They shot that thing out. I checked. They released music in 2013. It wasn't a lot of music. It was just a release. They did a release in 2013, 2014, 2015, and 2016, which is, doing a release a year is, especially when you're an independent label, that's, that's good. That's not bad. And there was a shift. Dez left, and that made way for Jerry Other, which is a moniker that I have always thought was really great. I always got a kick out of the fact that you have Jerry Only and his son Jerry Other. I thought that was tremendous. And You know, Jerry Other has also put out a record. He did 1 7-inch, and I don't know why he hasn't released an album. I was like, this is great. Let's see what, do it. This is great. Took his moniker, and it seemed like he was launching his own solo boat. And then maybe as we're going to talk about, he was helping his dad do Antihero, this solo record. And that brings us to Antihero. So without warning, okay, so a long time ago, a little birdie told me that Jerry was putting out a solo record, and I was like, whoa, really? And that was it. This was a while ago. So Jerry had been working on it for some time. And oh yeah, that's right. Thank you, Steve. You're right. They did the song on the Dr. Demento album. You are right. That was another release, and I didn't listen to that before we came on here. Damn it. That's right. That is correct. Oh, James and Liz have a 14th anniversary. Happy birthday. Sorry, not happy birthday. Happy anniversary to Liz Gruesome and James Gruesome. Liz, who is obviously James's wife, she's a tremendous, fantastic artist. She did all of the art for my first feature-length film, Romeo's Distress. I hired her and commissioned her to do some art, and she knocked it out of the park. I can't tell you how much mileage I have gotten out of that art. She's a fantastic, I keep using the word tremendous. She is a fantastic, fantastic artist. And I have not seen the Gruesomes in over 10 years in the flesh, but I hope that someday our paths will cross. And the last thing I will say is I have some great footage that I shared with the Gruesomes. I don't know if they ever got it, of them singing My Dying Bride together, which is a song that means a lot to them as a couple. Just a sidebar. Okay, what was I talking about? Yeah, right, the Dr. Demento thing. So, okay. Where are we? We're talking now. So now Jerry only releases Antihero. And like I said, I had heard from a little birdie, you know who you are, or maybe you don't, casually mentioned one day when we were together that Jerry is putting out a solo record. And I was going, what? That's crazy. That was all the information I had. And I didn't really think much of it. And then I heard it somewhere else. And then we started to see, without any sort of press release, without any sort of press release, sorry, I had to sneeze. Without any sort of press release, they just start posting things about Antihero's coming, Antihero. And of course, we did those episodes, right? We did 3 episodes about it. First, a guy mentioned it. Then we saw the track listing and we saw the artwork. The artwork is done by a guy named Mr. Black, based on artwork by James, who goes by Devilux on Instagram. He has fantastic artwork. Check him out too. His artwork is sticky. And you know what else is sticky? And I promise we're going to get to the review right after this. Stickers! Did you know that stickers stick? And these stickers, these are my Frumess stickers, as you can see right here. They were printed up by the sponsor, my channel sponsor, riotstickers.com. CEO Sharpie Riot and riotstickers.com help to power the Frumess channel. If you look down in the description of this video, underneath the link for Antihero, which you should all purchase, go purchase Antihero, support Uncle Jerry so we can get another Corvette. You will find a link for riotstickers.com/Frumess, Frumess, riotstickers.com/Frumess, where you can get 1,000 stickers for $79. That is 7 cents a sticker. Do you know how cheap that is? Now check this out. These stickers, they are printed on vinyl, so they are waterproof, and they have a UV coating on them, so they are protected from the sun. And that is all that matters. So check it out, riotstickers.com/Frumess. It's the only place you're going to find this incredible deal where you're going to get those stickers 3 inches by 3 inches for 7 cents a pop. 1,000 stickers, $79. Link is in the comments. Let's listen to the 60-second clip by the Less Than Jake guy.
We make stickers, banners, and buttons too. Posters and promo cards. There's nothing we can't print for you. From stage backdrops to bass drum heads. We can print on shirts. We can print on hats. We can print on pants. Cheap prices and high quality. Quick turnaround times and free shipping. We also offer free artwork support. Great customer service and so much more. RiotStickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. RiotStickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. RiotStickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. RiotStickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb.
For the kids. Yeah, I was mentioning before, what does Jerry, well, actually, we should get into that with the interview. I mean, not the interview, the review. I have my notes right here. Okay, so we've talked about how we got here. We talked about the recontextualization, Jerry fits with Jerry only, that from now on, forevermore, that the Misfits post 2000 shall be hereby known as Jerry's Fits, the Jerry Fits. Here's something that I've noticed. Here's my first observation as I look at Jerry's output versus Glenn Danzig's output. They're kind of like a weird yin and yang thematically. Glenn is always writing about like the devil, and he's writing about how Christianity is bad, snakes of Christ, this, that, and the other. And Jerry is writing on the reverse. For he had the Christ the Conqueror thing, and then look at Blacklight, look at Dig Up Her Bones, look at Resurrection, look at Dead King's Rise, look at Descending Angel. All of these songs are about either God or Christianity or whatever may have you. And it's a reoccurring theme that you see. Father, he has a song called Father. Glenn has a song called Mother. You know what I mean? It's a reoccurring theme in Jerry's work where Glenn writes about the devil, embracing the devil or whatever on some level. And Jerry writes about, rebuking the devil and embracing the light. Jerry's careful. He doesn't use the word, he doesn't really use the word God. He doesn't use the word Christ. I think that's smart because, Jerry's a very religious guy. We all know this. And, he has a picture of Jesus. He has a tattoo of Jesus with a devil lock, which might be the coolest tattoo of Jesus ever in my, in my personal opinion. Giving Jesus a devil lock. I forgot what it says. It says something too. I saw a picture of it. I thought it was pretty rad, actually. But the idea that he cut, it's like he writes about this stuff that he's writing about these themes and this stuff that is his truth. That's his truth, and that's what he wants to talk about. We always joke and say for the kids, but I think Jerry takes that very seriously. He mentions it all the time in interviews. For the kids. It's always for the kids. It's always about the kids, And in his mind, and if you look at what he's writing about, what's funny is Glenn writes with metaphor. Glenn writes with juxtaposition. Glenn, sort of shrouds some of the things that he's writing about in a little bit of mystery, at least when you look at Sam Hain and maybe Misfit stuff. I mean, Danzig too, but not in the same way, I think, personally. But then you look at the way Jerry writes, and the way that Jerry writes is Jerry likes to he paraphrases things. He's literally, and I think that comes from almost like a misunderstanding of what what he encompasses the Misfits to be in his mind. Because Glenn created the Misfits, but so did Jerry. And Jerry clearly has his own feelings about what the Misfits are and how the Misfits are represented. And that's the direction that he pushes in. And for him, it's paraphrasing horror movies, or it's, doing, like singing about the light, that sort of thing, or singing about the island of misfit toys, like, which is really sort of fun. But is it the Misfits? No, it's Jerry. That's why it's Jerry Fits. It's solo. It's a solo thing. It's a solo output, in my opinion. Here's the thing that we have to remember too. A lot of the contention and a lot of the sort of back and forth here is some people going, Jerry shouldn't be singing. Jerry's not a singer. Jerry shouldn't be singing, blah, blah, blah. This isn't up for debate, because the reality is Jerry sings. That's it. He's a singer. If you do the thing, then you are the thing. And that goes back to my point about Jerry sort of being like stubborn and sort of like, like persevering on despite any criticism he may receive, or, people perceiving what he's doing as disrespectful to the legacy that he helped to build. And the reality is, it's like Jerry's singing. Maybe it's for nobody but Jerry himself. And I don't mean that in a self-absorbed ego way. I mean that in like Jerry doing that because he needs to prove to himself that he can sing. That's why, and you'll notice, and I'm going to get into it. I keep saying that I'm going to get into it. I have very specific observations about Jerry's vocals from The Day the Earth Caught Fire all the way up to Antihero, that I just noticed like this sort of pattern, or not pattern. I've noticed like the evolution of his vocals and why I think the way that I think because of that. But the one thing we have to stop discussing as fans, if we're talking about Antihero, or we're talking about Jerry's artistic output, is this idea that he's not a singer, because he is a singer. He sings all the fucking time. For good or for bad, the dude has been singing for 25 years. And really, he's been singing since the Misfits. Because Jerry, when I say the Misfits, I mean the 77 to 83 Misfits, because Jerry used to do backing vocals. Jerry's been doing backing vocals for 40 fucking years. And frankly, that's really, truly where he shines. And I think that's part of the problem. Here's another aspect of the issue with people have, I think, with Jerry singing and this, that, and the other. And it's this. This is all right. So this analogy really applies to school. And it's going to make sense when we talk about it later in terms of Jerry's strengths versus Jerry's weaknesses as a singer. But it's this idea that if you tell a fish to climb a tree, he's going to feel really, and he can't. I messed up the analogy already. Let's say that you have a bunch of different animals, and like standing on one side, you have 3 monkeys, and you pair those 3 monkeys with a fish, and you tell the 3 monkeys and the fish, go climb that tree, and all the monkeys climb up the tree effortlessly, but the fish can't. The fish is going to feel stupid its whole life because it can't climb the tree, when in reality it should be in the water swimming. And I think that's my analogy for Jerry and his backup vocals. Jerry is a phenomenal backup vocalist, and it's so friggin' what's the word I'm looking for? Prevalent. It's so obvious when you see the original Misfits. You know, Glenn doesn't miss a beat with these songs. It's still his vocal range, whatever is going on with his vocal cords, he can still sing those Misfits songs just fucking perfectly, especially in the year 2016. But what really fills out everything, what really thickens everything, what thickens the sauce, you know how you put you put flour into the sauce to thicken it up, is Jerry backing him up, man, with the go, or the, you know, just Jerry knows how to he knows how to lock in his voice to Glenn's voice when they're doing, you know, when they're singing live, and it's great. And those are Jerry's strengths. But Jerry doesn't play into his strengths. Jerry just wants to sing. He just wants to be on Front Street. I am singing, I am a singer, blah, blah, blah. And the way that he goes about it does not service him as an artist or his songs. And that's my honest opinion. I could sit here and lie and say, you know, be a Jerry only fanboy, but that's the truth. That's the truth. I love Jerry. I love what he does. I'm happy and grateful for what he does. But I think that he doesn't play into those strengths when he tries to execute his own singing. He's singing in registers that you can hear him on the record sort of really pushing. I mean, he's working so hard. You can hear how hard he's working, trying to do something that his voice physically doesn't seem to be able to do. And the record, which now I guess we can get into the record suffers for that a little bit. It does. The record gets sort of pulled down by the artistic choices for which Jerry chooses to showcase his voice. Now, what do I mean by that? As I said, I went back and I listened to all of Jerry's output. I did. I wanted to really sort of get a grasp. And here's what I learned. When you listen to The Day the Earth Caught Fire, Jerry's voice is raw, it's rugged, and there's a truth to his voice when he's singing that song. There's no studio polish, there's no tricks. It's just Jerry growling. It's like, hey, I'm jumping in with 2 feet and I'm going to try and sing this. I'm just going to try and sing this and go for it. And you want to know something? It actually works. Now, if you had asked me, hey, Jeff, does this work? You know, if you ask Jeff in the year 2004, what do you think of that? I'd be like, oh, no, it doesn't work at all. Oh my God, I don't like. But having, you know, now having gone back and having distance and time and looking at everything in a big picture and having a better understanding and really following these people on their careers, I look back and I go, that actually, for him, for Jerry, and what Jerry's trying to accomplish, that stubborn, like, I have to do this, I want to be a singer, I want to forge on and do this thing, that actually works for him. However, it's still a little rough. It's a little bit rough. It's not, there needs to be something. Because here's the thing, like, it's like, no matter, I also feel like it's not fair. You know what? I'm putting that on the shelf. Hold on. Sorry. I'm trying to organize my thoughts here. We should go in order. Then I listened to Project 1950, and Project 1950, we could do a whole podcast on. Project 1950 was one of the most hated, reviled things that Jerry had ever done, at least in the eyes of certain fans. Certain fans absolutely detested Project 1950. And the only thing that I can find wrong, even back then and even now, the only thing I could find wrong with Project 1950 is that it says the Misfits on it and not Jerry only, right? It should say Jerry only, or the Jerry fits, or only Jerry. You know what I'm saying? What is really great about, or what really works for Jerry on Project 1950 is the way that he's singing. So now Jerry, I don't know where he recorded the day the earth caught fire or whatever, but I feel like they went into a proper studio and recorded Project 1950 in a proper kind of way, and Jerry's vocals are mixed perfectly on this, because again, for a guy who is not a lead singer naturally, he is singing in the register that suits his voice best and suits the arrangements of the songs that he's trying to put out best. It's all mixed. His voice is balanced in the mix. It's not sitting on top. And that is probably, it's one of the single biggest problems. And it doesn't work for Antihero. That's part of the problem. It just doesn't, having his vocals so far up. Danny says, it's like when Jeff goes live and only asks for money, but doesn't acknowledge comments. Okay. Well, first of all, Danny, if you had gotten here on time, you would have heard me say that we're going to get to the comments later. So that way I didn't get distracted the way that I'm getting distracted right now, and could just get through what I'm trying to get through. That's number one. Number two, anytime anybody supports this channel, I always acknowledge it. Oh, my friend's calling me at the worst time right now. I always acknowledge that. That's ridiculous. And number three, if you don't like it, bro, click out of here, man. Go away. That's all. I don't know what else to tell you. Anyway, let me get back to what I was saying. I mean, if I acknowledged every comment on this thing, we would be here for 5 hours. It would just never end. It would never freaking end. Jerry's vocals on Project 1950 are excellent for Jerry and what Jerry is trying to do. And when I go back and listen to that, and then listen to Antihero, I haven't really given the Antihero review a formal introduction. I'm just sort of, going for it. I then listen to Antihero and I hear his vocals they're too high up in the mix. They're too high up in the mix. All right, so overall, all right, let's just drop all this intro stuff. And where do I stand? I think it's a mixed bag. I think it is a big mixed bag. It's not good. It's not bad. It's a valiant effort. There is a lot of room for potential. And it's just a mixed bag. My number one issue, besides the vocals are too loud, I kind of feel like Jerry's vocals should be buried. First of all, I feel like Jerry has too much studio polish on his vocals. I think he needs dirtier vocals, and the vocals on Project 1950 are really dirty. I mean, they're really sort of like scruffy, and it really suits his voice really well. What he's doing here on Antihero, it doesn't work for his voice. It doesn't suit his voice. And that's what I'm really trying to say. That's what I'm actually trying to say. That's the truth. My other big issue with this record is that it's too slow. What do I mean by that? Hold on a second. It's when I say that it's too slow, I don't mean that the songs are necessarily too slow. I mean for Jerry's singing. I conducted a little experiment. I listened to this album twice, and I was like, there's something off. Like, okay, cool. I'm listening to it. I'm liking I'm liking what I'm hearing. Okay. Yeah. This and that, whatever. Lots of different thoughts going through my mind, but there's something is off here. There's something that's not right here. And what is it that's not right? And I realized it is the tempo of the songs needs to be a little faster. Okay? They need to be a little faster. And so what I did was, if you could do this too. Go, and maybe we'll do this in a separate stream. Go on, I'm not going to do it in this stream. Go on to YouTube and search up Anti-Hero and tweak your player to play all the songs at 0.25% faster speed. Got me? So it's 1.25x, and listen to the whole album at a quarter speed. Sorry, not a quarter speed. 1.25x speed. And Jerry's vocals sound great. They sound so much better. I don't know what it is about the speed, but the speed, if you go up to 0.5, if you go a half, I guess, what is that, a half step up instead of a quarter step, his vocals are too fast and the pitch is a little too high. But at 0.25, you can't really tell. And you listen to all of the songs, and the songs, they just click. They work so much better when they're sped up a little bit. That's what I noticed. And once I had done that, I thought that the vocals worked a lot better. I thought the vocals worked a lot better when everything was sped up. That's what I thought. Okay, so here's what I said. I did a positive and a negative and a theme thing. Ready? And we already talked about some of the negatives. I said the vocals. I said the vocal mixed. Okay. I said the vocals are too overproduced and polished. And this is something that really goes back to The Devil's Reign. You first hear Jerry's super polished vocals on The Devil's Reign. And for whatever reason, I just feel like Jerry sings too slow on these songs. And it's overly polished, and he's not in a range that suits his voice. He needs to sing in a range. The lower, I think, maybe the better. There's certain registers where Jerry's vocals are perfect. On this album in particular, there's one song when you speed it up to 1.25. I mean, he's great. He's firing on all cylinders. It works perfectly. So that was another negative. Okay, so here's the positive stuff. First of all, and this is the big one, Jerry Only is using his name, Jerry Only, and it's great. It validates everything that he's doing on this record. Suddenly, we don't have to compare it to what it puts it in a different place. I'm not sitting here and comparing this to Glenn Danzig's Misfits anymore, because it doesn't have the name The Misfits. That was the single, right? Is that not the single biggest problem? We said brand confusion. People are sitting here comparing Graves to Danzig because it has the same name. Do you think you would get even a fraction of the comparisons if they just were doing their own Love and Rockets sort of thing, separate from calling themselves The Misfits? No, I don't think so. I really don't think so. So Jerry Only as a name is great. The production, apart from the vocals, is absolutely wonderful. Top notch. I was so stoked with the production. It's great. Everything about it is great. I really don't have any bad thing. In fact, when you look at Danzig's last few releases, Jerry's production is just way better, man. It is. It is. Apart from I thought the Elvis thing was fine, but I look at like Black Laden Crown and I look at like Skeletons, and I feel like Jerry's production is better. Whatever his team, I guess he works with Ed Stasium of Ramones fame, and that has helped him. That has suited him greatly. The guitars on this album, I don't know if melodic is the right term. I'm lacking the language to express myself, but the guitars are so good. The guitars are done actually by Jerry Other and Acey Slade, and they're great. I don't know if they wrote their parts to these songs or if Jerry, told him what he wanted, but whatever the instrumentation and arrangement execution was good. It all worked, at least for the song. Now, does that make the song itself good? Not necessarily, but I can't turn my eyes on the production. I can't turn my eyes on a production and go, oh, well, the guitars were bad or blah, blah, blah. All of it's working. All of it was working in that kind of way. I said the same thing, instrumentation, arrangements. Now, one thing that he is doing, even though we said what we said about his vocals, one thing that he is doing really well is he is utilizing the strengths as a backup vocalist. And we were talking about it earlier. There are songs where he goes, go, or whoa, like he does that thing that he used to do in the Misfits on these songs. And it's awesome. It's really awesome. And that's what enhances the live show. You know what I mean? I liked it. I wrote that Jerry wrote this for himself, but he has nothing to prove to, he really doesn't have anything to prove to anybody, even if he is trying to prove something to somebody. Because at the end of the day, here's what the weird thing about art. Art is selfish and selfless at the same time. I know it sounds paradoxical. It's selfish in that when one creates art, they might be just creating, as long as they satisfy themselves, that's all that matters, even though they are giving it to an audience to appreciate, right? So the art is to satisfy me, but I'm putting it out for you. And I hope you'll enjoy it the way that I enjoy it. But if you don't enjoy it the way that I enjoy it, that doesn't matter. And all that matters is that I enjoy it. And I imagine, I don't know, but I imagine that Jerry's probably very happy with what he's done and what he's put out. I will say this, the songs all leave earworms. What's an earworm? It's, it's just something, it's like a little hook. It's like a little hook that sort of stays in your ear and makes you want to listen to it again and again. Whether it's because you're trying to figure out what makes it tick or whatever, any song that makes you put it on again because you're trying to figure it out has got to have some sort of intrinsic value to it. Whether it's not straight up like hook driven, it's whatever. I said on the negative side, tempos, man, the tempos, the song tempos. And I guess maybe that's what I mean by speed or whatever. It's just, everything's very slow. It needs to be faster. I feel like it needs to be faster. If you listen to this album, go listen to it on a faster speed. Listen to it at a quarter speed faster, 1.25. You will not regret it, I don't think. Themes. Here are some themes, okay? We're going to get into the songs themselves in a second. You have a lot of light versus dark themes rolling through. There's dead people. There's literally a song called Dead Men, but like the dead are a theme. Devils and demons, and gambling taboos, invasions and shadowy government. So there's like, I feel like, here's the thing, and I don't know what the lyrics are to any of these songs, but I feel like Jerry has a lot to say in these songs. Like he's saying a lot of stuff. And, my greatest compliment is yet to come. We'll get to it in the song. There's one song that really stands out to me as like the shining track, and I have an accolade for it that I really, truly like stand by and believe with my whole heart. And I'll get to it in a second. Let's start. Fear of the Walking Dead. So Jerry has done how many fucking songs about The Walking Dead? I mean, if you want to go back, even though Glenn wrote it, there's Night of the Living Dead. Then there's Day of the Dead, which is actually Doyle's song. Then you have Twilight of the Dead, you have Land of the Dead, and you have Fear the Walking Dead. And then if you want to count it, you also got a song called Zombie Girl. That's a lot. And the Ghost of Frankenstein, right? That is a lot of Dead songs. But hey, Just there you go. That's what it is. The opening synth, the moment I heard the opening like keyboard synth on Fear of the Walking Dead, I was like, oh my God, is this gonna like blow me away? And like I was just so shocked to hear that kind of instrumentation, that kind of choice. And it had me very excited for the rest of the record. And and then we get into the song and it's okay. The one thing that works throughout all the songs are the guitars. The guitars are they shine above everything. They shine above Jerry's vocals. They shine above Jerry's lyrics and his melodies. The guitars are by far the best part, the best thing on this album. I mean, I can't say enough good things about them. They're great. They're great. I really thought that they worked well with the songwriting. Hands down. Jerry loves to tell a story. He's telling the story of some kind in Fear of the Walking Dead. Something about Fear of the Walking. He's literally dictating Fear of the Walking Dead, I guess. I don't know. I don't know, man. Then we have Dead Man, something like that. We get some goes in the opening, like Earth AD goes, that sort of thing. And the intro sort of reminds me of All Hell Breaks Loose, but in the best way. I'm going, oh my God, I'm getting some like All Hell Breaks Loose vibes. And I liked it. I liked what I heard, man. Then there's so then we get into there's like this middle section where he's doing this whole thing about the Lord of Light, which makes me think of Game of Thrones for a minute. But it's just very on the nose. Jerry's obviously he's talking about Jesus or something, and and he just does this like little chant thing. What I love about the vocal effect on the Lord of Light thing that he does is he does this vocal effect that reminds me of what Danzig did for the Sam Hain version of Halloween 2 when he's recording Latin. They're using that special device. And it's awesome. It's great. It's really, really great. Up to this point, both of these songs sound like sort of improved versions of songs that maybe might have been on the Devil's Reign material, despite some interesting additional instrumentation. So there's that. What's interesting too is I'm really glad that this was only 8 songs. The Devil's Reign is 16 tracks and it's 50 minutes long. It's very dense. The songs are very long. It's very hard to digest, and the tempos are too slow. I just really think Jerry needs to speed things up. That's what was really missing to me more than anything. Then we get the next song is called Snake Eyes, and this is really a big sort of deviation from anything that he has done previously, right? There is this is going to sound, I don't want to use this word, but I don't know how else to describe it verbally. There's an emo-esque quality to the guitars that's great. It's actually good. I can't believe I'm actually saying that, but it makes sense in the year 2022, but maybe not in the aughts. But I like it. I like what I'm hearing. I don't know. I welcome the element. It's almost like it's like emo or it's like metal, but it's not slow or sludgy. The guitars. That's what's interesting too, is the guitars. It's not the guitars. It's the vocal melody that's too slow. I don't know. Maybe it's the instrumentation melody or tempo too. I don't know. It's just things need to speed up. The lyrics in this one are very campy, very cheesy. It's just literally just talking about it's talking about gambling and losing your soul if you gamble. And it's just very, it's very boomerish. I'm sorry. It is a little bit. I don't know how else to say that. And, I don't know, man. I don't know. There is a backup vocal. So here's the thing. Sometimes the backup vocals work really well on these songs and other times not as much. And sometimes there are like the tone of the backup vocal is really great. I don't know who's doing the backup vocals. I think a bunch of people are. I think Acey Slade is doing some of them. But sometimes like the arrangement or the execution of it doesn't work as well, I guess. So there's that. I do think the backup vocals in the chorus work better than they do like leading up to the chorus. And you know, and then we get more goes, and any kind of go is always welcome. Always welcome. The you know, the problem with this song, going back to what I said, Jerry needs more metaphor in his writing. And that's my opinion. That's my personal opinion. I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm saying I feel like the message is too on the nose. Like give us some more metaphor. He literally says at the end, "Don't gamble with the devil, my son. He might just take your soul." But you know, maybe he's coming from like it's coming from like a bluesy sort of place. So okay, I guess it works. It works. Then we get a song called Illuminati, which I'm sure we know what this one's about. The first of all, there's like a double bass drum in the intro. That's great. That stood out to me immediately. I really, really liked it a lot. Then, you know, I have to say the chorus is uninspired. It's an uninspired chorus. Sorry. It didn't click with me. It was too simple. He's just literally saying like Illuminati as the chorus, you know. It's almost like some of these songs are like a parody of what people think a Misfits song is sometimes. But one thing that I did like in the chorus of Illuminati is like there's almost like this, it's like monk chanting. It's like this, oh, Illuminati. I don't remember how the melody goes, but that was fun. And that's where I'm like, okay, Jerry needs to go lean in on the lower registers of his voice and do death rock vocals. He needs to sing lower. He needs to sing lower. That's where he's really gonna just like really, really like explode. I think that will really work for him better. Again, I'm coming from this as a fan. I'm coming from this as an audience member, talking about my personal taste as someone who listens to music. That's where this is coming from. And it's constructive. I'm talking about things that I don't like or that don't work for me, but offering feedback as to what I think, how it could improve to be better. Okay. Here is my highest compliment for the whole record. Okay. Of everything that I've said, of all the critical things that I've said, here is the one where I really don't have anything like critical to say in a bad way. Taboo is the standout track on this record. And it's good, man. It's really freaking good. It's the highlight of the whole album. This is the one track where Jerry finds a sweet spot. Jerry does his best singing on this track. This is where if Jerry is going to overly produce his voice, if he's not going to dirty up his voice, if he's not going to mix his voice down like Project 1950, he's got to sing just the way that he sings on Taboo. If he does that, he will be unimpeachable vocally, in my opinion. Nobody can come and knock Jerry off the vocal totem pole if he sings like in that register. So it is possible. And that's why I go back. I say it's not a matter of whether Jerry's a singer or not. He is. He just needs to find his strength. He needs to find where his strengths are and needs to push it, man. And Taboo is the pinnacle of that. And you know what's funny? Going back to Project 1950, so they did an extended version, right? There were 3 extra tracks. There were 3 extra tracks on Project 1950, and you can tell they were recorded later. You can tell that maybe they were even recorded with Ed Stasium or whoever. They were not done in the environment with the approach that the original 10-track album was. They are more polished. Go listen to it on Spotify right now. Go listen to the last 3 songs on Project 1950 and compare them to the vocals on the rest of Project 1950, and you will see an inane difference. And that's when Jerry really started to try and polish his vocals, and it does not suit him. He is better with filters and fuzz boxes and dirtying it up and burying it in the mix. It just suits the songs better. It does. It suits the songs better. It makes his vocals sound better, and it suits the songs better. And Taboo is the one exception to the rule. Whatever he's doing on Taboo, 10 out of 10. Great. Really great. It's the highlight of the whole album. This is where his vocal range is, and he needs to stick to it if he's going to sing. We know he's going to sing. We get that 1950s Jerry Lee Lewis piano thing. That was terrible. Why did I just do that? You know what I'm talking about, though? The high piano key going over and over again. Kind of reminds me of Scotty Thurston from the Doors, not from the Doors, from the Stooges during Cock in My Pocket or whatever it is. But yeah, 1950s Jerry Lee Lewis feel. Okay, here's my highest compliment for Jerry only. This is my highest compliment. Ready? And this is the truth. And I 100% from the bottom of my balls believe this. If Elvis Presley or Johnny Cash were still alive, they would cover this song. This is the perfect song for them to cover, and they would cover this song. I truly believe that. They would love Taboo, and they would cover the shit out of it. And they'd probably do really well with it too. Somehow Jerry found a way to write this really, really appealing 50s throwback, and it just works. It's incredibly enjoyable. Obviously, Taboo is revolving around some sort of religious taboo, or, the idea of like religious morality, taboos, that sort of thing. Yeah, Jerry, it's interesting. Like Jerry can sometimes be, it's way more subversive in the Misfits 95, but it's weird. In this one, he's kind of on the nose with all of that stuff. Maybe because he's like, hey, I'm Jerry only, and this is my solo album. But man, and who would really appreciate that sort of that vibe is Elvis and Johnny Cash. They both would like that. They would like that this song is called Taboo. They would like that the lyrics and what it's clearly about and the structure and everything, and they would cover the shit out of it. And then halfway through, we get some Johnny Thunders-esque solo. And if you know Johnny Thunders from the New York Dolls, it's friggin' great. That little tremolo thing that he does or whatever. And then it like sort of flows into like metal. It becomes metallic, but in a great way. And then we get the pianos sort of remind me a little bit of the melody in Unbridled, which I'm not, probably accidental, but it was very kind of similar. Very kind of similar. You have a theremin in the background that's really, really great. And then when I was looking at the liner notes, who friggin' plays that theremin? It's Des Cadena from Black Flag. That's great. And then at the very end, buried in the mix, there's like this synth piano swell. I really like that too. That was good. Next up is a Elvis cover, but it's not really, Elvis didn't write this song, I don't think, but it's a song that Elvis sang. You're So Square, Baby, I Don't Care, right? And the problem is it has a snotty attitude. He sings it with a snotty attitude, but the vocals are too polished. And I just think that if he was singing it with that Project 1950 voice, or The Day the Earth Caught Fire voice, it would work. Zach says, when seeing the track list, I almost thought that Taboo would be a cover originally by 50s rockabilly singer Gene Summers. So, I could totally see Elvis and Johnny Cash covering it. I really could. There are these finger snaps, and they're too loud. for my taste, too loud. I felt like, I mean, that was the thing. There was some weird, unbalanced sound elements that were mixed way too high. I almost felt like they could have brought up the guitars a little bit. I don't know. Okay. I also said we could have had a piano or a fuzz organ. Any one of these songs could have had more piano and fuzz organ, something like that. Would have I thought we were going to get some saxophone. I would have loved to have heard some saxophone. Maybe there was going to be, and then it went away. I don't know. Then we get One Cell From You. I love favorite part of the song is the weird robot servo motor sounds, which it's just another flash of brilliance that I wish we had running through the whole record. We get it on Fear the Walking Dead, and we get it on this one. And I feel like it's like Jerry's dipping his toe in the water, but like, dude, fucking lay it on us, man. Lay it on us. I will say this is the one song, I took a note of this. This is the one song where I felt that the vocal levels for Jerry were mixed very well. Every other song, his vocals are too high. Actually, Taboo too. Taboo is perfect. I really don't have a single critical thing to say about Taboo. Taboo works, clicks for me. In any case, the mixing on the mixing of the vocals on Jerry's voice, great. And you could tell Acey, you could really hear Acey. That was when I was able to really, identify him, with the auditorially. And then we get the title track, Anti-Heroes. Now, Jerry has talked about how he used to always see Queen and David Bowie live. In the early 70s, he would go and see these shows. And now we hear Queen coming out for the first time, and it's awesome. The intro to Anti-Hero or Anti-Heroes, whatever it's called, is epic. It is epic. The guitars made me float on air, and I like it, man. The other thing too is you can really hear sort of like there's like some 80s metal stuff, hair metal, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what you would describe it like. Maybe it's Van Halen or something. There's some of that is weaved through these songs as well. And that's not to say that that's what's in that intro, because that's quite clearly Queen. That is absolutely a Queen sort of thing that he's trying to do. And it's great. The guitars build. And this is when Jerry has a lot to say about Anti-Heroes and the state of the world. You really get a feel for what Jerry's state of the world. Jerry's very quiet about his beliefs in general, which is a good thing. I think I like that Jerry, because I don't think Jerry and I are aligned in our beliefs very much at all. And that's okay. That's fine. He could do his thing and I could do my thing. That's great. I like that he doesn't really get into it and it's smart. We've seen how that's panned out for other people. It doesn't really work that well when you start mixing, personal beliefs with, when you're just supposed to be an entertainer. But here is a brief glimpse into possibly, I cannot speak for certain, of what some of Jerry believes. And I don't know, maybe I could be wrong. Maybe it's just him wanting to write about that stuff. I don't have the lyrics. I wasn't able to actually read the lyrics, but, it makes me question, who are the anti-heroes? Who are the anti-heroes? Who watches the Watchmen? And at the end, we get some more piano and guitar that they dance so magnificently together. I love it. It's great. And that closes out the album, man. It's 25 minutes. To me, I think the ideal album length is between 20 and 25 minutes. And I think in general, albums should be 25 to 35 minutes is really pushing it. anything over 35 is like nauseating to me now. A lot of records that I listen to over and over and over again are anywhere from 22 to 29 minutes long. That's it. Like, and that's the thing. It's like, would you rather you could listen to an hour's worth of music all the way through, or you could listen to the same album 3 times in an hour. You know what I mean? For me, I kind of fall into that latter category. I like to listen to the same album 3 times in a row. Right now, I can't stop listening to the Bad Nerves. They're big Misfits fans as well. They're like a garage rock band out of England, and I've listened to that record. I think it's like 26 minutes long, and I probably listened to it 100 times. I just keep putting it on over and over and over again. So you don't need to necessarily have more music. You know, a really good short album will be listened to on repeat over and over and over again. I suppose the same could be said for something that's longer or something that's 40 or 50 minutes, but you know, I don't know. Overall, I don't really know if I have a rating for Anti-Hero. Would I recommend it to anybody? Of course. Yes, if you are a Jerry only fan, you should listen to this man. If you follow Jerry in his career, you'd be crazy not to pick this up. You know why? Because here's my bottom line surmisation, despite some of my critiques and despite my affirmations. This is Jerry at a, probably, Jerry's older now, man. He's in his 60s. This is an album that maybe he should have put out 20 years ago, or he should have been using his own name 20 years ago. But here he is now, like swinging for the fences with this and putting himself out there in this kind of way. It's a smart move. He can still keep doing the Misfits, and now he's Jerry only. Finally, he's established himself. I will tell you this. I have preferred just about everything that Jerry has done over Doyle's 2 albums, man. Like I said, I listened to each one of those albums once or twice. That's it. I was like, okay, that's what that is. Okay. Not my bag. I'll take Project 1950 over either one of Doyle's records any day of the week. Any day of the week. But now you have Danzig, has always had Danzig since 1988. Doyle does Doyle, and now Jerry only is Jerry only. Is only Jerry. No, he's got a great backing band to back him too, man. He's had Dave Lombardo was on this. He had the GOAT, Eric the GOAT Chupacabra, awesome dude, very nice dude. Met him at a Doyle show. And really his secret weapon, in my opinion, is Jerry Other. Is the secret weapon, man. Jerry Other with Acey Slade, the double guitar attack is just fire. That's fire right there. And also Ed Stasium did a lot of guitar stuff too. So like this team is good, but I feel like they need to keep searching for the sound. They're on the right path, but they need to keep searching. Here, I wrote one last thing. And this is part of my critical analysis. Opportunities for the future. Like I said at the beginning of this thing, it's not enough. It's atrocious to say something sucks. And it's not enough just to critique something. I think that you also have to sort of provide solutions or feedback. What, in my opinion, could be done better. And let me very emphasize my opinion, my personal taste. Not, I'm just one fucking jerk off on the internet. I'm a Misfits nerd who's talked about Jerry Only and his new album for an hour and 43 minutes. So here's my opportunities for the future. Are you ready? Number 1, faster tempo speeds. I think that's a no-brainer. I said that already. This album already sounds better to me when it's faster. When you listen to it sped up, 1.25. Go do it now on YouTube. Trust me on this. The songs they have new breath in them. Lean into vocal strengths. What do I mean by that? I mean, do what you do on Taboo or go back to Project 1950 and look at what you did there, because what you did there vocally makes sense for you as a solo artist. What you did on Taboo is really the blueprint for everything. And the two are kind of aligned because Taboo is kind of like a 50s song. And it's kind of like a 50s song that would, as I said, absolutely hands down, Elvis would cover that song. If you put that song in front of Elvis or Johnny Cash, if you put that song in front of Elvis in the 60s or 70s, or if you put that song in front of Johnny Cash in the 90s, both of them would cover it. That's the truth. Mix vocals, utilize vocal strengths on Project 1950. And I also put Get Calf on there. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about John Cafiero, another guy who some of the fans don't appreciate. Cafiero is not only the manager, Jerry's manager, but he also has his own band called Osaka Popstar that Jerry was in. I don't know if Jerry's still in it, but Cafiero can sing. And, he's done a lot of backing vocals for Jerry in the past. And I say, throw him into the mix here. Why not? I also put more Jerry Other. I don't know how much Jerry Other was used, but I feel like if that was his guitar work, lean into that, lean into him, push him further up. I also wrote more instruments, saxophone, fuzz, organ, piano. If you're going to put theremin, if you're going to have these weird keyboard synths, go for it, man. Go put some sax. Jerry has messed with the sax before on Project 1950. And my last note, and maybe this is just a pipe dream impossibility, get another Ramones collaborator on there. Ed Stasium is a legend. He's great. Except I don't like the way that he did your vocals. I just don't. I personally don't. What about Daniel Ray? Is there bad blood there? I don't know. Did they have a falling out? Daniel Ray collaborated with the Misfits a lot in the 90s. Daniel Ray is, I believe, he shares songwriting credit on some of those 90s album songs. I say get him back. Hire him up. Get him to write songs with you. Get him to play guitar. Put him in the mix, because it's gonna service you, Jerry. That's what I think. And again, I'm saying all of this as a fan, as a music listener, as a Misfits follower, nerd, historian, whatever you want to call it, guy talking on the internet. And that's it. That's my whole spiel. Go buy the record. It's in the comments. But most of all, don't say something sucks. Explain why it doesn't work for you, but don't ever say something sucks. Nothing sucks. The only thing that sucks is your vacuum cleaner. All right, now let's go to the comments. I don't know if that guy is still here. Oh, why don't you do this? Why are you ignoring the comments? Because if I freaking go to the comments, we're never going to get to anybody. We're never going to get to anything. I don't even know where to begin. All right, now I'm looking in the comments, guys. I'm looking in the comments. Let's do a few comments and we'll wrap this up. I can hear my voice. It's like when Jen goes live, this money. Shut up. Look, here's another comment. This dude is just complaining nonstop. Not sure what this live review is about. Are we reviewing the album or just doing a Misfits comparison? Bro, have you never been on this channel? What's up? JS is here. JS always is so complimentary. Thank you, dude. That's really nice. That's really nice. The album cover, dude, the album cover is great. The album cover is strong. What are you talking about? God, this guy is a real friggin' grumpy Gus. Project 1950 could have been better, could have been worse. I think it's awesome, man. It's just not the Misfits. That's literally the one bad thing. James Gruesome says the CK5 would kill a Taboo on a cover. Would kill Taboo on a cover. I agree. Absolutely. Raphael says, Jeff, do you think all 8 songs could be in a Jerry Fitz record without feeling off? We were told not to expect. It sounds like a Jerry Misfits record, so I expected something more adventurous. Raphael brings up a good point, actually. I was also expecting something more adventurous than what we got. It was a little bit more in that sort of Jerry Fitz vein. I think that these songs could absolutely all fit on one thing or another that Jerry has done in the past. Xander says if he turned down, it would be easier. He's too low for standard tuning. Are you talking about, what do you mean? What, I don't know what that means. Are you talking about his guitars, or are you talking about his bass? I'm waiting on Jerry's Grateful Dead song. I would love that. Jerry Only and Jerry Garcia. Yes. Yes. Biz says that she likes Fear the Walking Dead in One Cell. Okay. Almost after everything Jerry did for the kids, it's nice to see him do something for himself. Absolutely. Glenn's production sounds underwater at times, muddy. Jerry's, you cannot deny it. Jerry's production. You really cannot. I can't really hear his bass. His bass is very low and it's very garbled. It's like, I don't know. It's his bass tone. I've never been into Jerry's bass tone. I've never been into Doyle's bass tone. Count Zax is popping in to say hi. Happy late Halloween, Jeff. You have the same ritual as I do, watching the Disney Donald cartoon and the Ichabod cartoon classics. Absolutely, dude. Absolutely, man. Have to do it. I did 31 Days of Halloween this year. Go check them out. Those reviews do not get a lot of views, but you want to know something? I love doing it, man. I do it because I like doing it, but I got a little burnt out this year. Just saw that they chanted Jerry at the Dallas show. Yeah, that would only happen in Dallas, Texas. No, you know why it happens? I'll tell you why it happens. Because Jerry, and that was another thing we didn't talk about. Another thing that Jerry is great at the live shows, man. He's fucking great. He's breaking his bases. He's super entertaining. He breaks his bases. I once saw him hand an untouched bass to a girl in a wheelchair at Madison Square Garden. That was incredible. That was a sight to behold. And he's power sliding. He's running around the stage. I mean, he puts 150% into that thing. That's an Ed Stadium thing. I don't know what you're referring to. Guitar or vocals? I don't know. Uncle Jerry. The Cyclops skull from Uncle Jerry's bass, one of the pre-sales, was the album plus the skull. Oh, man. If I had the bread, I'll tell you, I wanted to buy this on vinyl, and I could not. I just didn't. I had to listen to it on Spotify. And at some point, I will buy it because I want to support and I want to own it. But I just don't have the between the shipping and the cost of the record. I couldn't do it, man. I could not do it, unfortunately. Sorry. Oh, dead air. Don't do the dead air, Jeff. Keep talking. We must never. Yeah, of all, Devil's Rain is not my cup of tea, but Vivid Red, which I just very recently listened to, is one of the tunes that does more agreeable for my palate than some of the other ones. That's the best way to put it, I think. That is the best way to put it. Yeah, well, I did initially forget the Gorgeous Frankenstein, and then I remembered it, but that was a whole different ball of wax. Biz says, I see no problem with him using the Misfits name. He fought tooth and nail to get the right to perform, and he's been running the band since the mid-90s. Fair. I think Erie would, but that's on Danzig. if Jerry had done a little singing back in the earlier days, people would have warmed up to him being on the mic nowadays. Well, I mean, he was though. He was backup singing with Glenn. He was always doing some sort of backing vocal, even if it was just very like small and auxiliary or whatever you want to call it. But in the 90s, he was singing backing. He was doing a lot of backing vocals, a lot. And when he had to, when what's his face, Mike Hideous, he had a real trial by fire, right? He was running a gauntlet. He was not prepared. He just jumped on a tour, and Jerry would guide him and help him vocally, to sort of help get him up to speed and whatnot. I mean, Jerry, and there were some times where Jerry did have to sing, but when Graves couldn't get into Canada and Jerry had to sing, that sort of thing. Oh, keep talking, Jeff. Don't stop talk. Don't stop talk. All right, let's go down to the bottom comments because we got a lot of comments tonight. I mean, does this dude not understand that if we read every single comment, which we have done in the past, it just turns this into a 4-hour thing. We're already at it's an hour and 55. We got to go. Here, hold on. Let me go down to the bottom. Come back up to the top. 1 second, people. 1 second. I guess we'll never know. Taboo and Dead Men are the only songs I haven't heard yet. Says Biz, I listened to the album after this afternoon and overall really enjoyed it. That's great. Wretch, that's great. I'm glad you did. Do you know where Michael J. Sudweeks last lived? I don't even know. Willis, I don't know why you're asking that. I don't know who that is. And then says the people that say it sucks are just Jerry haters and couldn't care less about the kids. They definitely don't care about the kids the way Uncle Jerry cares about the kids. That's for certain. Thanks for this. Can't wait for my copy to come from the Misfits store. Gave it a small sampling, but waiting for the whole listen through. For waiting for the whole to listen to the vinyl. That's as it should be. I think people realize that it's not the Misfits, Yes, we did get some synthesizer. That is true. That is true. I agree with you with getting Daniel Ray back, but I haven't heard an update with him in years. Hope he's doing okay. I think Daniel Ray is doing really okay because he just sold Johnny Ramone's guitar for $1 million. That he was the dude who was in possession of that guitar. It's fucking Daniel Ray. Daniel Ray's doing okay. Oh my God, that's amazing. Wait a minute. Okay, this guy, Wolf Energy Explosion, says, I talked to Glenn last month about possibly doing an interview on your channel. He says, hell no, he hates you, bro. How does Glenn Danzig know who I am? He doesn't know who I am. It's called Bad Nerves. The Bad Nerves. They're great. They are phenomenal. Yes, Jerry is very good with fans. Very good. Jerry and Greg Ginn's jam band's longest song would be 5 minutes. Yo, Jerry has a lot of really long songs, man. He does. There's a lot. Oh, it's Noodles. Noodles is back under a different name. Maybe Noodles is actually... oh, my God. Now it all makes sense. Okay, whatever. Glad I finally... Hey, Amend, I'm glad you did too. I am glad you did too. Had no idea the other brother sang. Huh. I don't know who that's in reference to. I hope you enjoyed tonight's stream. Oh, that was John of Doom. How did I know? I totally missed that was John. John said Jerry and Greg Ginn's jam band's longest song would be 5 minutes. Ha 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 ha, John. By the way, guys, Voice of Doom is John's band. They have a show coming up in the city. It's in December. Hold on a second. They got a show. I'm going to be at the show. It's happening. It's the Holiday Slamboree. Check it out. You got Sworn Enemy, Spoiler NYC, Deja, Voice of Doom, Concrete Ties, Serial Poets, and Faded Line with DJ Sid the Kid. And that's happening at Bowery Electric. Okay. Sunday, December 18th, 2022 at 2 p.m. Be there or be square, man. What's up, Angus? Angus, how are you, sir? Have you listened to the new album yet? Who was the singer after Mike Hideous? Okay, so you had Graves, then you had, sorry, I'm having a brain fart. Then you had Mike Hideous, then you had Graves, then you had Zoli, then you had Michael Graves come back, and then Jerry really sort of took over. Something like that. It was something like that. Yeah. Yes, R.I.P. to DH from the dead Kennedys. Very sad. Very sad. Tragic loss. You know what? Just let it go, Noodles. Just let it go, man. I really do not want to argue or fight with you anymore. Peace and hair grease, man. Peace and hair grease. Let it go. Angus says, I'm good. I will have to check out the new album. Yeah, I had a lot of thoughts about this album, and I hope I didn't come off too harsh. It was not my intention to. And, I liked it mostly. It was a mixed bag. That's what I said it was. It was a mixed bag. I can't give it a rating on a scale. I just can't do it. I can't do it. But it was a mixed bag for me. The highlight being Taboo. That's what I said. But listen, tomorrow night, Robbie Bloodshed is coming on. We're going to be unboxing his new record. And we're going to be doing a special top 5 dripping red murder scenes from movies. So it's going to be like a top 5 tie-in to go with that. So check that out. Trying to think of what else I could say here. I think that's really it. I think we've reached the end. I hope you enjoyed the stream. And, I got to tell you this too. I'm rooting for Jerry. I really, really am rooting for him. I want him to friggin' knock something out of the park. I don't think he's quite there yet. This is my Jerry Springer final moment, final word. I don't think he's quite there yet. I think he is on his way. I think that there's still work to be done to get to that place. And I'm saying that as a fan, as a consumer of his music, as someone who has followed his career. So, Jerry, I'm rooting for you. Keep going. Keep going out there. Keep grinding. Keep discovering your sound. And most of all, sing like you do on Taboo or sing like you do on Project 1950. That's it. That's the end. Let's end this with the Patreon. That's right. Patreon. That's the lifeblood of this channel. Make sure you become a Patreon member. Lots of great stuff on there. I'm currently working on part 4 of the Erie Vaughn interview. That'll go up for the Patreons first and foremost. And got a lot of other neat little trinkets and goodies on there. And it's time for me to go to bed. I got to wake up. I got to take my daughter to school. I got to get all that stuff ready. So I'm going to do that. Peace. Hair grease. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your viewer support. And here is the Patreon.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jeff. So I've decided to make a Patreon. What is Patreon? I don't know how to define a Patreon. Let me look it up. Patreon is a membership platform that makes it very easy for creators to get paid for the things that they're already creating. I want to do it full time. I want this to be my full-time job. In my efforts to make that happen, I've set up this platform. Is it going to work? Is it going to be successful? I don't know, but I would rather try and crash and burn than not try at all. The goal is to create enough passive revenue so that I can continue to do this full-time, uninterrupted. Why? Because I love to do this. I love creating content. I love making videos. I love shooting films. I love doing podcasts. In case you couldn't tell, I love to talk and I never shut the fuck up. So right now I've kept the Patreon incredibly simple. There's 2 tiers, and that may change in the future. The Murdergram is a simple way to extend support for all of the hours and hours of free content on the channel for nothing more than $1. 38 cents goes to Patreon. What's $1.38, eh? It's less than a cup of coffee, but it's a great way that you can show support for very little effort. When you divide that $1.38 by the hours and hours and hours of time spent listening to this endless drivel of content, the dollar cost average works out. Next up is the YouTube Casualty for $6.66. The YouTube Casualty is loaded to the gills. Enjoy the archive ad-free, as well as ad-free early access to special docu-style podcast videos, music reaction commentaries, and the like, a month before they drop on YouTube, loaded with ads, I might add. You're also going to get exclusive content and behind-the-scenes content that is not available on YouTube or anywhere else. So you get to peek behind the veil. And believe me, there's a couple of choice pieces. Most of all, more than anything, whether you join the Patreon or not, I just want to thank each and every one of you that comes to the channel, that watches all the shows, that leaves comments, that participates, that subscribes. That's really the most important thing. This is just trying to find a way to earn a living as an artist. And with that, thank you for my TED Talk. Join the Patreon, because we need you!
66 cents.